It's 6:30. You're live here on GHOne TV. It's now time for News Tonight with me, Natalie Fort. Coming up this evening, government spends 9.9 billion cedis on free SHS as Ghana's public debt hits 742 billion cedis, representing 70.6% of GDP.
The effect of the cedi depreciation and disbursements from creditors. The stock consists of external debt of 452 billion Ghana cedis and domestic debt of 290 billion Ghana cedis.
Also ahead this evening, Chief Executive of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly says contractors working on the Kumasi Central Market project cannot complete it on schedule.
It should have been done and over by February of this year. We've wasted or delayed for about 13 months.
Also coming up, NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia defends his proposed policy of credit ratings, which will allow Ghanaians purchase items like mobile phones on credit.
Your mobile phone and pay small until you finish paying.
Also ahead this evening, Parliament's Education Committee summoned striking colleges of education teachers over their ongoing industrial action as Ghana Tertiary Education Commission orders freeze of their salaries. But the teachers say they will not call off their action.
The union wishes to notify the employer that not until the employer complies with all the outstanding arbitration award by the NLC, the union shall never call off its ongoing strike action.
Let's now settle for the details of these stories here on News Tonight. You can watch this bulletin on Facebook and X at GHOne TV. Top on the news this evening, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has disclosed that Ghana's public debt has reached 742 billion cedis, representing 70.6% of GDP. This is an increase from the 608.4 billion cedis recorded by the end of 2023, as announced by the Bank of Ghana. What this figure suggests is that the country's debt situation has not improved despite completing the domestic debt exchange program last year and fiscal measures implemented by the government. Delivering the mid-year budget review statement in Parliament a short while ago, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, blamed the situation on the depreciation of the cedi and disbursements from creditors.
The provisional total central government debt as at end June 2024 stood at 742 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 70.6% of GDP. This indicates an increase of 22% due to the effect of the cedi depreciation and disbursements from creditors. The stock consists of external debt of 452 billion Ghana cedis and domestic debt of 290 billion Ghana cedis, representing 60.9% and 39.1% of the total debt stock, respectively. As a percentage of GDP, external and domestic debt represented 43% and 27.6%, respectively. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's medium-term macroeconomic and financial outlook and prospects remain positive and favorable, despite the challenging global environment.
The Finance Minister speaking on government spending there. Now, my colleague Calvin Powell with the Business Desk joins us in studio with more on this. Calvin, it's good to have you in studio. So aside the issue of public debt, what other areas did the minister touch on?
All right, so the minister actually touched on a whole lot of things from private sector, agriculture and all that. But if you recall, in 2021 somewhere, the former roads minister, Honorable Amakwata, announced the cessation of road tolls, right, where there has been an argument that e-levy will actually give us the needed revenue and all that. And currently, as we all can attest to, e-levy is underperforming. Right. So he hints on a comeback of road tolls. So let's take a listen to what he said in that respect.
Peace, tolerance, development, and economic growth. Convinced about these objectives, government has over the last 8 years prioritized education. This is to ensure that over time, skills will be improved to protect and impact productivity, to grow the economy, and to improve living standards. Mr. Speaker, in 2008, His Excellency the President, then the flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party, announced the policy of free senior high school. And for 8 years, he kept his conviction. On 2nd March 2017, government allocated 400 million Ghana cedis to implement free senior high school. We also indicated that our oil resources will fund the program, as the President believes that every Ghanaian child must benefit from the oil resources of our country. The impact of the program is evident. To date, a total of over 9.9 billion Ghana cedis has been spent on the program, and a cumulative total of 5.7 million young people have benefited from this initiative, many of whom may not have had this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, to complement this effort, we provided facilities under TVET to empower our young people with employable skills, with 168,000 students enrolled in the 2023-2024 year. Additionally, we are constructing 10 STEM schools and 10 STEM centers across the country. We are also building the first 2 STEM colleges of education in Karga in the northern region and Tepa in the Ashanti region. We have distributed 900,000 tablets for secondary school students. Quality education has been given considerable focus, Mr. Speaker, because the performance of the students at WAXI in 2023 is also the best since 2015. Mr. Speaker, to ease the financial burden on parents and guardians of public basic school pupils, government disbursed about 38 million Ghana cedis as capitation grant for the first half of 2024 to ensure schools have adequate resources to provide quality education.
So that's the Finance Minister touching on the issue of education, free SHS there. Yeah. And you were hinting earlier that, yes, he did talk about road tolls, the reintroduction
the road tolls. And he also mentioned that, if you recall, there have been citizens that were actually agitating for their funds to be
the locked up funds
should be paid to them. Certainly. And also, so he also touched on that, and I guess that when the road tolls come back, he's going to do a lot to us in that respect. So let's take a listen to what he actually talked about when it comes to the local funds and the road toll as well.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, Cabinet has also granted approval for the disbursement of an additional 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to provide relief and bailout for those whose funds have been locked up in the fund management companies. The establishment of a framework for the reintroduction of road and bridge tolls in 2025. The operationalization of the integrated property tax system and a review of the fiscal responsibility rules to include a debt rule to support debt sustainability, as well as the establishment of independent fiscal council. Mr. Speaker, our outlook for the rest of the year also takes cognizance of key risks. The IMF this month has already noted that the global economy is in a sticky spot. Upside risk to inflation and their impact on interest rates remain. Mr. Speaker, we've invested almost 10 billion Ghana cedis in the road sector since January 2024 to enhance transportation and spur growth. I can also confirm that government has secured equipment to complement the efforts of our local authorities in improving community roads nationwide.
Well, Calvin, so we did hear him touch on that as well. The locked up funds, of course, money's being made available for the payment of those.
Precisely.
How about agriculture?
All right, so agriculture, he made mention that over 50,000 acres have been procured, and some number of youth have also been trained in terms of agri entrepreneurship. And to me, that's a good one over there, because if you study the statistical report that came about some 2 million youths are lying idle, involved in nothing. So if some people are being trained in agriculture ways, I think that is a good one, and we should encourage it. So let's actually view what he pointed out when it comes to agriculture.
Certainly.
Mr. Speaker, we prioritize the agricultural sector due to its far-reaching impact on the economy and livelihoods. To improve our food security, we are implementing the Enhanced Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2. Through this program, we introduced the input credit system and adopted technology-driven platforms, enabling farmers and value chain actors to operate transparently and efficiently. Mr. Speaker, to support the private sector in enhancing fish and aquaculture production, we've scaled up the supply of premixed fuel since January 2024. Additionally, we are also partnering with private enterprises and are providing employment to about 10,000 people to expand and venture further into aquaculture. At the Kusunya EEP in the Greater Accra region, government has taken significant steps to de-risk private sector operations for the cultivation of rice, including the completion of 18 kilometers of feeder routes from Chopoli Junction on the main Accra-Ada route to the enclave, extension of 18 kilometers electricity to the enclave, development of a 20-kilometer irrigation canal for consistent water supply and year-round farming. Additionally, we have trained about 500 youths on agricultural entrepreneurship through a $6.1 million partnership with the MasterCard Foundation.
Finance Minister speaking on agriculture there. And finally, what we're highlighting, the Auditor General, what were his statements with regards to that?
If you cast your mind back, you would realize that the removal of the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelevu, raised eyebrows. People were like, this man was fighting corruption and irregularities at the public sector. But with information given out by the finance minister, if it's something to go by, then, because he made mention that the current auditor has actually saved us some over 5 billion Ghana cedis in respect of his discharge of duty. And I think if it's a true statement of account when it comes to his delivery, then it's a good way. And this is what he has to say in respect of that.
Mr. Speaker, there has been a consistent reduction in irregularities reported by the Auditor General since 2020. Between 2022 and 2023, irregularities reduced by 32%, amounting to savings of about 5.2 billion Ghana cedis. Also, due to the policies, guidelines, and the PFM measures implemented by the Ministry of Finance, about 99.26% of all irregularities identified in 2023 by the Auditor General are recoverable. The Ministry of Finance is working with the Internal Audit Agency, the internal audit units, and audit committees to recover these amounts.
So those are the key points made by the Finance Minister during the budget reading. Now, Calvin, we know that there have been some reactions to this. What reactions have you got for us?
Yes, so you know, budget reading can't go on without banter from both sides of the House. So after the minister has made the reading, there have been some exchanges from both angles, and the majority leader had his stake. The minority leader also has his stake. So let's take a listen to what the minority leader has been saying.
The minister did not introduce new ideas. Unfortunately, Ghana is on autopilot. Our economy is on autopilot. No leadership. Mr. Speaker, I'm shocked today to have noticed that Appendix 2A, page 107 of the Minister's Media Review and Economic Policy. This government has already missed IMF program already. I refer you to Appendix 2A above the line. Arrest clearance. Arrest clearance. Above the line. this government, contrary to the IMF program that we should not accumulate any arrests, have accumulated new arrests worth 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. And you are here saying what? The Speaker, I am not surprised. But all what I want to tell them is that they are bereft of new ideas, and that I'm happy that they sang Abemewie, you're on your way to opposition. So, Speaker, I second the motion.
Well, the minority leader, Ato Forson, speaking there, saying that there are no new ideas presented in the budget reading. Well, let's now speak with economist Professor Patrick Esuming on this, get his reactions to the budget which was read. Good evening to you, and thank you for joining us here on News Tonight, joining us via Zoom there. Now, you heard the various areas that the minister touched on, specifically public debt shooting up to 742 billion cedis. Are you surprised by this? What's your reaction to it?
Good evening, and good evening to viewers. Thanks for having me. I think the debt itself was not too surprising. And you notice that, so there are two components of the increment. The fact that we've been borrowing from the short-term market through the treasury bills, but also, especially the external component, you've seen that the currency has depreciated quite sharply this year. Right. So that will account for much of the increment in the external debt. So it wasn't quite surprising. I don't think it should be. Of course, it highlights the fact that every time we are not able to keep the currency in check, the debt may balloon because the debt is in foreign currency, and once the cedi depreciates, it automatically goes up, even if the dollar value is the same. Right.
So you just highlighted some of the causes there, but the finance minister blamed it on the depreciation of the cedi, the poor disbursements from creditors. Do you think that those reasons are justifiable enough?
Definitely for the external debt, because it's in foreign currency. So as long as the currency is depreciating, you see that. But there's also no denying that the government has still been borrowing, certainly, especially on the treasury bill market. We've seen that because the long-term market is closed, the bonds market are closed, and then also we can't do more Eurobonds. So you see that there's been a lot of borrowing on the domestic market. So both are those are the two major factors.
Right. Now, in rounding up, we had the minority leader speak on the fact that what he described as no new ideas in the budget. From where you sit as an economist, what would you have expected from this mid-year budget reading? Would you have expected some new ideas within this period?
I wouldn't say new ideas per se. I wasn't really expecting any dramatically new policy direction or policy statement. What I was expecting, though, which didn't happen,
right,
longer-term plan. A longer-term plan about how we are going to grow the economy going forward. Right. I think I didn't hear that. Otherwise, most of what we heard is something that we've known already. So the updates on the debt restructuring, the and then related matters. So right, in general, I wasn't expecting any new major economic policy, but what I was expecting was a communication of a long-term strategy.
Long-term measures and strategies, right. Now, we were in an election year. We know that typically in election years, government tends to overspend. The minister clearly, categorically stated that government is going to spend within their means this time around. Do you see that actually happening? Do you see them being able to spend within their means this election year?
I would be pleasantly surprised if that were to happen.
Right.
I think in my reading, it's going to be a matter of extent rather than if. So, so every year we hear these promises, but I think the incentive for government to overspend is extremely strong in our country.
Right.
And then also, we don't really have the kind of expenditure controls that will prevent government from spending outside of the budget. So, for me, it's going to be a matter of degree, not if the government.
Right. Professor,
I spend that the government to overspend its budget.
Professor Patrick Esuming, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this issue. An economist on that. Now, Calvin, in rounding up, he says that it's it's a given, really, that government is going to overspend. It's frequently said, but he doesn't expect the situation to be different, just the extent of it. What do you think?
Well, the fourth estate is always the gatekeeper.
Right.
The minister has mentioned that they are going to stay within the budget framework, and there are other opinions in the opposite direction. So we would stay in the middle to monitor both angles and see what pertains. Then we let the public know.
Absolutely, we certainly will. Calvin Powell of our business desk here at EIB Network. That wraps up Insights for tonight. You're welcome back to News Tonight here on GHOne TV. In other news this evening, the Kumasi Central Market project is not likely to be completed on its scheduled date due to delays in the release of funds to the contractor. The project came to a standstill when the government took a decision to restructure its debt. However, after several protests by traders who will use the facility when it's completed, money has been released to the contractor to resume work. There's more in this report.
The 248 million euro project, which began in May 2019, was expected to be finished within 48 months, but has been delayed due to the debt restructuring program by the government. The project contractor was forced to terminate the appointment of some of the staff working on the contract before abandoning the site. But after protests and threats by traders who were operating in the market to vote against the government in the 2024 elections due to the delays in executing the project, money has finally been released for the project to resume.
We had recommencement of work engagement meeting last week Thursday, and they firmed it up with their program of actions. Since they left site for about a year plus, about 13 months, they need to re-engage the workers. And re-engaging them, they also need to go through medicals. So they're giving themselves 2 weeks. That's from last week up to about the 3rd, 4th of August. They will be up and finished with that, and they will all come back to site. When they come back, the first jobs that they are going to do is to complete the portions that they do not finish with the floor, the concrete works and all that. Then also the installation of the stalls.
But the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly boss says the project cannot be completed in the next 5 months. He is, however, confident that the government will complete it for the interests of the people of Asanteman.
The project should have been done and over by February of this year. We've wasted or delayed for about 13 months. And therefore, if even there's going to be a crash program, it's not going to be just a month or 2 months or 4 months. I know it's going to go beyond that, but the exact time that they finish, when they start work, they are supposed to give us their timelines from the 4th up to when they complete work. So
the project, if completed, will host 6,500 leasable commercial spaces, 5,400 closed stores, 800 kiosks, 50 restaurants, 210 fishmonger and butcher stores, and 40 livestock stores. The 1,800 square meters of community facilities will additionally provide other essential facilities such as a waste treatment plant, a police station, a fire station, post offices, and an amphitheater.
The West Africa Civil Society Institute is advocating for the full inclusion of all local businesses in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfTA. The AfTA CSO network has organized a special event focused on the critical role that civil society organizations can play in its success. Well, we will bring you that story subsequently here on GHOne TV. Let's now move to some education and labor-related stories, as the Education Committee of Parliament has summoned members of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association, CETAG, over unresolved industrial action. Academic and administrative activities in the 46 colleges of education across the country for the past 6 weeks have come to a complete halt, leaving the future of the academic calendar uncertain. Despite an interlocutory interlocutory injunction filed by the National Labour Commission, the teachers say until the employer complies with the arbitration awards by the Commission, they will not resume work. The Education Committee has scheduled a meeting on Wednesday with members of SETAC to intervene and also seek clarification of what has occasioned the stalemate in negotiations in order to amicably resolve the impasse. Well, joining us over the telephone now to further discuss this is ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament and MP for Akachi North, Peter Notri Kotoy. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, first of all, what exactly necessitated this move to call for a meeting?
Thank you very much. As a committee, we decided to call this meeting because we felt that the briefing given us last week, that is the Parliament by the two ministers, that is Employment and Education, did not address any serious issues to finding a solution to the strike action. So we decided to call them together and then find means of solving the problem. In the first place, the migration, which they have to put them or migrate them on to the university salary structure. We want to get a roadmap with them so that they know that from so and so date onwards, the migration will take over, will be over, so that they can have a peaceful mind to deliver on their mandate as tutors in the colleges of education. Then, what does the Ministry of Finance have for them? Because when I asked about a roadmap for the payment of the arbitration award and the allowances, the two ministers did not want to commit themselves that by this or that date, payment will be made to CTAC members. They were silent on this, on it. So that's why, as a committee, we decided to summon them again, and then at committee level, and then maybe listen to them once again and find a solution to it. However, this evening, before we adjourn for the day, we had information that the Minister for Education had also invited the CTAC members with GTEC and then the Ministry of Finance that they should meet tomorrow. So we have put ours on hold, that the Ministry of Education, the CTAC, and the other should have their meeting. The outcome of that will inform us the next step that we should take as a committee. So for now, the meeting will not come on as planned for tomorrow.
Very well. So your meeting is on hold up until this meeting is completed. Now, we've had heightened calls for the closure and annulment of the academic calendar. From where you sit, will you say it's too early for this?
Well, it's unfortunate that the strike has taken long. That is 6 weeks now, and unfortunately, students have to remain on campus without academic work. It doesn't speak well for us. That's why, as a committee and Parliament, we were anxious that the ministers for Education, Employment and Finance to, as quickly as possible, solve this matter. But we realize that they are not doing so. So we want to give them the benefit of the doubt that tomorrow, when they meet, they should find, or they should come to an agreement as to how soon the teachers will be paid their arbitration award, and then as well as the outstanding arrears of book and research allowances. So let us leave it at where it is now. Tomorrow we'll decide the way forward.
Very well.
Yeah. But I think also that the GTEC letter to Director of Payroll at Controller was not in a good taste. This is not a good solution to the matter to force the teachers to go back to the classroom. You rather aggravate the situation. This is a period that we should appeal to them that A, B, C, D is being done. So kindly go back. Because the same thing happened in August last year. As a committee, we came in appeal to the teachers to go back to the classroom or lecture room, which they did. But Ministry of Finance and the government did not honor their part of the obligation. And that was what brought us this far. We hope that they will be in a position this time when they meet tomorrow to come out with a concrete step or steps to make sure that payment is made to CTAC members for them to go back to the lecture rooms.
Very well. Well, we certainly will monitor that meeting tomorrow and re-engage when it concludes. Peter Noshu-Kotai, thank you so much for joining us this evening. MP for Akachi North on that issue, also serving as ranking member of the Education Committee in Parliament. Well, meanwhile, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission and the Ministry of Education have instructed the Controller and Accountant General's Department not to pay the salaries of CETAG members. However, leadership of the association have warned that any attempts to freeze salaries of their members who are on a legal strike will be met with a suit. President of CETAG, Prince Obeng Hemang, has been addressing a press conference in Kumasi.
The union wishes to notify the employer that not until the employer complies with all the outstanding arbitration award by the NLC, the union shall never call off its ongoing strike action. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we want to caution that any attempt to illegally freeze salaries of our members who are on a legal strike shall be met with the legal action against whoever takes such, an action. And we shall also meet it with all the protestations and all the rights and privileges that the 1992 Constitution grants to CETAG members and our citizens of Ghana to fight against injustice. CETAG will no longer tolerate injustice against its members because Ghana is a peaceful country governed by the rule of law. A luta continua. Long live Ghana, long live CETAG, long live teacher education.
You're watching News Tonight. Well, let's take some election-related stories this evening here on your election hub. Flag bearer of the governing MPP, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has hit at the opposition NDC for being pessimistic about his proposal to introduce a credit scoring scheme which will allow Ghanaians to purchase items on credit. Dr. Bawumia, at a community engagement in the Savannah region, announced a policy that will allow citizens pay in bits for items when they need it. But that was mocked at by the opposition NDC. Addressing a gathering at Hamile in the Upper West region, the NPP flag bearer said the opposition has always been pessimistic about such proposals.
When we say we want to do something, they always say it is not possible. They always say it is not possible, but it is possible. When I said a few days ago that Ghanaians suffer a lot because everything we want to buy, we have to use cash to buy everything. In the developed countries like the UK, Germany, Japan, the United States, workers buy most things on credit. You buy a fridge, you buy a television, you buy a car, you buy a mobile phone, you pay small, small, small. But in Ghana, you have to pay it all. And so I said Ghana has reached a stage where we are going to introduce a credit scoring system that allows our workers to also pay small, small, small.
Well, flag bearer of the MPP speaking there. In other news, President Akufo-Addo has inaugurated 320 new housing units for the police service at the police training school in Tesano, Accra. This initiative aligns with the government's broader agenda to improve the welfare of security services and marks a significant step in addressing the housing needs of those who serve to protect the nation.
In a landmark move to uplift the morale and living standards of Ghana's security personnel, the Akufo-Addo administration initiated a vigorous security services housing project in 2017 to be completed in phases across the country. Phase 1 was completed for the military in 2018, while Phase 2 was handed over in 2023 for the police and other security services. The 320 new units at the National Police Training School became Phase 3 and brought the total housing units so far completed by the government to 1,000.
These 1,000 homes are exclusive of the 1,700 affordable homes that the TDC has constructed in Kpong, currently being used by health workers, doctors, nurses, and other public servants. They are also exclusive of the 405 homes by the National Home Ownership Fund in Community 22. These homes are also exclusive of the 822 homes that the State Housing Company has put up in various locations since 2017.
The newly inaugurated housing project comprises 112 two-bedroom apartments and 208 three-bedroom apartments, along with an officers' mess, a social center, 2 multi-purpose playing courts, a kindergarten, and children's playing ground. And the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ikufu-Dampare, was delighted over the intervention.
We are committed to going the extra mile to show our appreciation to you by working with the rest of the security agencies to ensure that there is peace, security, law, and order, especially during this election year. And that, Mr. President, we can assure you, we will leave no stone unturned in getting to that destination. We will do this by building and not destroying. And we'll do this by uniting within our ranks, within the police service, across the other security agencies, and also across all stakeholders, and we will unite without dividing.
These modern facilities aim to improve the quality of life for police officers and their families, creating an environment that enhances both operational readiness and personal well-being. Managing Director for the construction firm, Mandy Holden, called for a maintenance culture among beneficiaries.
To the members of the Ghana Police, remember these new homes are for you. Keep them clean, maintain them well, to enable you and your families enjoy them for a long time.
President Akufo-Addo noted that the project marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing efforts to enhance the welfare of the nation's security personnel.
The Security Services Housing Project is part of a comprehensive strategy to enhance the capacity of our security agencies. It goes hand in hand with our efforts to provide modern equipment, advanced training, and better working conditions for our police force. We believe that a holistic approach is necessary to create a robust and effective security system. By addressing the various needs of our security personnel, we're laying a solid foundation for a safer and more secure Ghana.
The inauguration of these housing units demonstrates the Akufo-Addo administration's commitment to the welfare of Ghana's security personnel. It reflects broader agenda to enhance the capacity of security agencies through modern equipment, advanced training, and better working conditions.
Let's turn to some legal issues now. Chief Justice Gertrude Saki-Tokonu has advised judges, especially new magistrates, to pay attention in the discharge of their duties to deliver sound and appropriate decisions that will be devoid of appeals. According to her, magistrates must understand the fundamentals of cases. She made the call during the swearing-in of 6 new magistrates in Accra.
Ethics of your work seriously, and ensure that everyone in the justice delivery chain acts in accordance with the requisite code of conduct of the judicial service. So you must know what is in the code of conduct for yourself. I will now address the context of the judge as a learner. As much learning as you may have done in the law faculties and the law school, you should appreciate that it is in the courts that the rubber hits the road. Every case is fact-specific. The issues are unique, and they will require your rapt attention to deliver justice appropriately. It is only in the law faculty that we are told this case is on all fours. In real life, no two cases are on all fours. Understand fundamental issues such as jurisdiction thoroughly, and avoid your rulings being constantly taken up for supervisory orders. Each of these records are likely to find their way into your file and can affect your journey up the ladder. So be mindful. This is why in our profession, we can never stop learning, not even at the Supreme Court. Any shoddiness with rules of procedure and rules of evidence or substantive principles of law will lead to injustice from your hands. Do not be impressed by the noise of those speaking extensively and trying to turn attention to themselves. In and out of your courtroom, be concerned with the legality of the process and of your rulings. So as much as your courts work with independence, or as the courts work with independence, and so cannot compel parties to file processes on time, you must understand that the ultimate use of the rules of court to avoid misuse of the court system lies with you, the judge. I counsel you to sharpen your understanding and appreciation of case management skills and tools provided by law to weed out inequitable practices by court users and court officials that delay justice, including inequitable practices by lawyers and prosecutors.
Member of Parliament for Nsawam Aduadri constituency in the Eastern Region, Frank Anodompre, has been convicted for contempt by the High Court in Accra. The court presided over by Justice Abena Opong Ejin Doku convicted him after he pleaded guilty previously to the offence. The court said Mr. Anodompre is not an ordinary member in society and should know better, but the court will spare him a custodial sentence. Justice Ejin Doku, while sentencing him on Tuesday, July 23, imposed a fine of 600 penalty units on him, which is equivalent to 7,200 cedis. The MP was cited for contempt after it was brought to the attention of the High Court, Land Court 1, that he disrupted court bailiff and police officers' work when they were to carry out an execution work over disputed lands. Do stay with us here on News Tonight. We bring you sports news shortly.
I want to sports. Now in sports, head coach for the Black Panthers, Yusuf Basigi, has disclosed that his or her lads are ready to make a mark at the upcoming FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup taking place in Colombia later on this year. Speaking at a press conference from a camping base at Cape Coast, Yusuf Basigi noted that the lessons have been taken from their last group stage exit at the tournament previously, and hoping that this time the team will do much better by progressing beyond the group stage.
In my case, I'll say that it was unfortunate the time that we went for the World Cup 2018. That was the time of the normalization, so things were not normalized as we went there. But I wouldn't say that is an excuse though. This time around, we are motivated to go again and make a mark because we are all looking forward to breaking that jinx. So we've made the girls aware, just as we, the technical staff, are also aware. So we don't need anybody to task us to do that job. We know how difficult it is. It's not by saying, but it's a very Herculean task. But we'll do all that we can to go beyond the group stage.
Meanwhile, captain for the team, Afi Amenyuku, has also indicated that indeed, though they look to surpass the group stage, the team will make or take each game at a time without putting much pressure on themselves. With the tournament to kickstart on August 31, the captain called on the support of all Ghanaians for the team for the championship.
Team preparations has been good. The coaches are trying so hard for us to go through some drills in order for us to be in shape so that we can compete in the highest level. And as players, we are giving in our maximum best in order to play according to how the coach wants us to play and also how to adopt to his philosophy.
So what should Ghanaians expect at the World Cup?
What I would say is that Ghanaians should keep on supporting us. I think they've been our strongest support since from Wafu and up to date. So they should expect good results from us when we start the tournament.
Yes, Mafia said you want to get to the group stage of the competition. The coach said you want to get to the next round of the competition. The consensus of the team, why are people afraid to say we get to the semi-finals?
No, we are taking it one step at a time. So we are not in a hurry.
For the sports bulletin.
And Gazi, looking quite dapper this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the sports segment there. You're watching News Tonight. That's how we draw the bulletins on this evening's news. Thank you so much for making the time to watch this bulletin this evening. Do visit our website, starfm.com.gh, for lots more news. It was produced by Musa Lanza. I'm Natalie Fort. Have a restful evening.